Okay, great.
Got it. Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy 2023.
Yeah. Can you guys believe it's the 10th already?
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Hi, Nick. Scott, you're quiet over there. Tell us what's on your mind.
Good morning, everybody. That beat down last night by the Bulldogs.
I know.
I'm not a Georgia fan, but congratulations to anyone that is. Man,
I only saw the score this morning, but it seemed like it wasn't much of a game as much as it might have been a cremation.
Yeah.
frogs have been gigged. I think that's
Maybe that's where Enrique is celebrating. Who knows?
I'm sure. So in some corners of the world, maybe the celebrations continue at this moment. I don't know. But
Right.
that is impressive, and the way they did it is impressive. So good to see everybody, and I appreciate as always Maureen and Christy and all of y'all's leadership here in this initiative here. So really we love talking and amplifying the outcomes, right? I don't know if we've got an updated figure. I've beat that 500,000 pounds thing to death.
Oh, we're done with that. We're moved on from that.
Yeah, I updated it last month, but then I don't know that there hasn't been a lot. There's going to be only 2 containers that were picked up since the call in the beginning of December, because just of the holidays, we wanted to avoid the shippers having any issues with any drayage companies that couldn't show up. And then the steamship lines were really, a lot of this stuff shipping from the middle of the country. And so dealing with the rail yards and container availability has been sticky, especially out with Matter and like middle of the country. So we wanted to minimize, because the people that we're working with at the shippers for the most part are not always doing this every day for us. So we didn't want to set expectations and then have any issues, weather, things like that. The way the holidays fell too, it kind of extended it. But
I get it. I get it.
I'm seeing 670,000 pounds right now.
And that was, I think, as of last month. So there's 2 more, I think, that were picked up since then. And then the Performance Health donated more material that we are shipping just directly from, I think it's Indiana, to Restore Ukraine. And I don't know if Yarrow is on yet, but they're going to take over a destination and deliver that. And then Restore Ukraine also got a container from Matter they shipped it last week. And then they're going to have another container next month that's going to be picked up in Tennessee. So that's an organization that's growing. I think Yarrow, I don't know if he was registered.
He's registered, yeah. So he
Okay.
may not be able to join.
He was just on email a couple minutes ago, so maybe he'll join in. But for those of us on here who were not on last month, but also for the people that are watching after the call, it would be great for him to talk about a little bit about what his company does or his organization does and how they came about. And we found them, or they found us from another forwarder that wasn't really interested in working with such a small customer. And so they referred him to us, which was just perfect, because this is right up our alley of what we wanted to do in terms of giving back and partnering with them. So hopefully he can join us and speak a little. But I do not want to forget our very special guest, Michelle Hodgson, if you would. She is the one who sent the first batch of letters over to our office in Atlanta in the beginning or the end of August, that really set this whole letter writing Ukraine, initiative into motion, and gave us the idea to continue it. Like, why stop with just the box that she sent? And we kind of, for those of you who've been watching or reading our PowerPoints after, or checking out any of our social channels, we've really taken this initiative and tried to keep it going and grow with it. But Michelle is the one that came up with it. So I would love, Michelle, if you introduce yourself and maybe talk just a little bit about where your idea came from and who worked on the original letters. I don't think we even know all of that info.
Right. Well, so I actually have an office next to Vector's Atlanta office here at King Plow. So I am real life friends with Enrique. I've been here probably as long as he has. I think 2013 was our first year here. And while I do have a for-profit business, I sell benefits in Buckhead. My nonprofit business is called Children Helping Children, where I am today. And we have a studio here in King Cloud where we do art, music, and play therapy for all different kids in different nonprofits locally. And then we are also a center where kids can come, Girl Scout troops and schools and friend groups and church groups, to assemble gifts that benefit different nonprofits for kids. So you probably can see behind me a whole bunch of our teddy bears. Those are our signature Be Well bears, and they have little backpacks on the back. And depending on the nonprofit, we stuff them with whatever in-kind donations, whether it be art therapy materials for kids in the hospital or toiletry kits for kids that are homeless, depending on what are the in-kind needs of our nonprofits here locally. So I started the nonprofit in 2008. I have 4 children that are 21, 18, and 11, but I had a 5th child who was born in 2007 and passed away from Down syndrome. His name was Cole Clayton Hodson, his monogram CHC. And so Children Helping Children is basically the living manifestation of his life. And we use his life to teach kids how to be more compassionate and more giving in the world. And we make give back very hands-on. So for us, writing letters is just second nature. We slip lots of them in the backs of those backpacks. There's like a little pocket in the front. I wish I had one next to me. But it's just sort of the handheld touch so that kids can get, you know, to your point earlier when we were talking about practice writing and reading, but it just is that personal connection so that when a child receives a gift, it's not just items, it's also a note, and the note is often the most significant thing. So when Enrique was telling me about what you guys were doing, we kind of collaborated on the idea of just seeing if I could get some notes from our village of kids. And so I just posted on Facebook what we were doing, and they started coming in the mailbox, which I love my mailbox here. It's a lot different than my mailbox at home, which is filled with bills and things that I have to pay. And when I come to King Cloud and open it up, there are letters all the time. It's like Christmas every time I open my little key. So that's really simply it. And we're happy to engage at any point in time to continue the letter writing campaign and or even partner locally as sort of like a local distribution center for in-kind gifts of area nonprofits if you were ever interested in doing that. We love to partner with companies. And like I said, my for-profit company, to me, it's incredibly important that we are not only purpose-driven, but that we work with people that are purpose-driven, because that's the only way our nonprofits survive. Yes, there are grants and what have you, but corporate sponsorships are the heart of why we have been so successful for so long. And quite frankly, it's just as easy to meet for lunch and have a business meeting as it is to meet for lunch, have a give back and business meeting at the same time. You just slip it in what you're already doing. So I'm always really interested in speaking with business owners about how they could be more philanthropic, but you guys are already have the ball, rolling and have figured out how to do it. And I'm hoping that it's sounded like when I was listening originally that you guys are really lit up by it. And that's the point, it's just really to have a team building exercise that actually matters and makes an imprint. So it's exciting to watch you guys do this.
Michelle, thanks for sharing all that. And I feel remiss that, you are right across the office from us in Atlanta, and I'm not in Atlanta all the time, but I'm wondering why we haven't collaborated beforehand, or maybe Christy, if we have, to do any sort of packing event with you or anything else because when we do have a bunch of people in the office for whatever reason, whether it be the holidays or something. And I think once a quarter, we normally do an event where we're giving back. It would be great to do something with you guys right across the way. It doesn't, not Ukraine related, just whatever would do to help you and your organization and volunteer with your kids or stuff, teddy bears or whatever you would need. Our team is always looking to participate in community events. So let's kind of touch base or circle around with that after, because I think that'd be a great opportunity to have our team work with you more outside of this.
Yeah, I will tell you, there was one specifically, and it was a day pre-COVID when the office was filled at Vector that I popped over because one of our groups, do you want me to just give you a surround sort of video of, or see if I can turn it around to see this space, because it's super, let me get my face off of this. Hold on a second.
Was it when we were in the old office or the new office?
I only know of one office, and it's right by
the one that's on the bottom.
It is on the bottom. Shoot, I'm having a hard time turning. Here we go. Okay, so we're literally right next door to you, but we have their art, and we have basketball, and we have a full-fledged kitchen where we do a lot of our lunches that we pack and donate to our shelters, and ping pong and pool. And at one point in time, I'll flip it back again. We did have your team over. There was a whole crew over there, and I needed more people to come in here because one of our groups, one of our nonprofits is a nonprofit with kids that are older children with Down syndrome, and they had an entire coffee shop set up in here where they were selling popcorn and coffee and practicing their social skills. And so the Vector group came in, and they were awesome, like one-to-one conversations with these young adults, and purchasing coffee and things that they made. And so Enrique and I were like, we have to do this more often, and we just never got around to talking about doing anything else. So I would be definitely interested in doing something.
Well, then
else.
COVID happened, and here we are 3 years
Right.
later.
Exactly. True.
Yeah.
And if you have a website or your contact info or anything that you want to put in chat for anyone else who might be interested, then please feel free to do that as well.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. We're actually in the middle of changing our website. So we're chcatlanta.org, but I'll add it. But it's down right now because we're upgrading at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was such a great segue into kind of the reason that we all got on the call today was to continue to talk about our initiative in Ukraine, but that stemmed from, our mutual desire to collaborate and give back and do the right thing. And I think that what are we now, Christy, in our 9th month of these calls, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, we started just a couple of weeks after the war broke out. So I think it was sometime in March. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we were talking about a little bit before you started the recording, or it might have been right when you started, about, collectively, we've all worked together to send more than, 670,000 pounds of material over to Ukraine and surrounding areas. And Vector has sponsored a significant amount of those shipments, but not all of them. And so all of that was an effort between those of us on the call and others who have been on in past months, ship customers, partners, suppliers, trucking companies that have helped participate in this. Vlad, you're on here loyally every month, or when we were doing it every 2 weeks, you're on.
I missed last time because it was just, I had something happen and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed the call, but it was an emergency.
Yeah, but I mean, you have, put a lot of your own team to working towards this, and your own efforts outside of your, day job, your paid job, in order to make this happen. We've had a lot of really positive feedback from our, customers and our partners, but also we have been able to spread the word. So some people that we haven't ever worked with before have come to work with us or reach out to us to get more information about how they can participate and contribute, whether it be by helping sponsor a shipment or donating product, or like Vlad, you and I know Swan had helped, actually move product from A to B so we could get it on the water. We've had a lot of really great references with some partners on the other side. So we've had what I would argue is a very smooth transition of material into Poland and Ukraine, into, heavy conflict areas. The delays that we've seen have really been mostly due to congestion, not truthfully due to the specific conflict itself. And I think that everyone has really worked overtime to make that happen. And so I just want to make sure I acknowledge that. We're going into the new year. We're approaching a year of this conflict in the next 2 months. And so we'll see kind of what happens on the political side and on the ground, but also when it comes to the collective effort that we've all been behind and are continuing to push. We are still seeing there's a couple partners that we have that are still looking and trying to ship things monthly or every couple weeks. And so there is still an interest there from our side here in the US. There's still a need over there. And so it's been really great to see everybody continuing to work together in that side.
And you said Performance Health just donated another round of medical supplies. Is that right?
Yeah, so they had about 22 pallets, and Ebert had messaged me right before the holidays and said, we have this. And I don't know if they were end of year kind of excess inventory. And he had said, we're willing to donate them and they're available as soon as someone can come get them. And so I had reached out to the Copernicus group who we had shipped some things for, and I think they were just kind of out of the office for the holidays. And then I reached out to Yarrow at Restore Ukraine, and he was interested in them. And so we were able to just kind of set that up. And I do know, and I think Scott's on, I don't know if Scott's still participating, but you know, there were a couple ports over the new year that had some kind of cybersecurity issues. And then one of our steamship line partners, their website was down all last week. So we weren't able to make a lot of progress in terms of actually making some bookings. And so it was one of those, everybody's ready to get to work at the beginning of the new year. And I think there were some cybersecurity issues, which I think some of us anticipated either over the holidays or in the new year. I don't know, Scott, if you have any intel on that.
Simple intel. Even the bad folks are ready to get started in the new year, and we're going to see a lot more of it. So we're all fighting through it together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was traveling over the holidays and I'm like, we haven't seen any issues yet, except for the whole Southwest thing, which I was able to avoid. And I was like, I just want to be able to get home before something like this happens. And then, you know, it didn't happen on the commercial airlines. It was, I think it was the port of Lisbon, I believe, and another port had a cybersecurity issue. So I think some of the other transportation entities realized maybe their systems weren't as tight as they need them to be. So but yeah, in the last week, we've booked about 3 containers to ship in the next couple of weeks or the first week of February. So we're really feeling good about the continued energy and effort and, you know, availability of product that is headed over there. Vicky from Matter could not make it today, but she said Matter is still interested and excited about being a partner with, you know, our partners, and you know, if we can spread the word that they continue to have material that they're willing to share in order to get over to Ukraine. I know Restore Ukraine just took some. Vladimir, I sent an email to link you with Vicky directly. So if you needed a couple pallets to complete your upcoming container.
Yeah,
you
I did the math yesterday. Actually, I can have room for like 5 pallets.
Okay, yeah.
So if anybody has anything that's, you know, obviously if it would be nice if it's medical related. If it's not, if it's not medical related, then we'll take whatever other products out there. But we have room for 5 pallets. That would be awesome.
Yeah, all of their stuff, from what I understand, is just pallets of mixed medical supplies, and so it's
and I have a way, like depending on where I could pick stuff up in Minnesota. We have partner carriers that travel through to Florida, and they told me they'll grab it for no charge and bring it. And then I talked to if they, maybe I don't know, maybe Performance Health might have any more stuff. Then it's even easier because it's in Indiana, so it's just you just swoop by there, grab it, and then on the way down.
Yeah, and I can ask Ebert. I think he was out, and I did take him off the email chain because once he had confirmed the donation of the product and how much it was and how many pallets it was and could it be double stacked, things like the operational side, then we were waiting to get a booking. It was just taking a while because the system was down there. The steamship line system was down. Then I pulled him off the email because then it starts to be, you know, all the emails with setting up the pickup and the trucking company and all of that. I knew that wasn't really his lane. So I kind of moved him off of the email chain so he wouldn't get buried in all of the other emails. So I'll reach out to him separately and ask what sort of availability they have.
See if I can round up anything else.
Yeah. I think
otherwise Vicky seems to have an unending amount of medical supplies she can contribute as well.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll pick it up and we'll make it work on our end. And then that way we can get the container ordered and ship it.
Great.
Yeah. So I'll touch base. I sent you something with Vicky, so you guys can just coordinate that. You can keep me in the email or not. It's up to you guys. And then I'll send something to Ebert. And then One thing that we talked about a little with Michelle earlier in the call, but one thing I did want to circle back, that we have had a really enormous response on our letter writing campaign. And 2 packages have gone out. One, well, I guess, Christy, where are we with the statistics here? I know that you're tracking that a little bit.
We
better.
are at, let's see. Yeah, 2,247 letters so far.
Mhm.
So, and written primarily from kids in the US and kids in Mexico. Hopefully you guys, I'll include it in the next email as well, just a link again to the video that Oksana have put together for us to show some of the recipients getting the letters, and we have oodles of pictures and things like that, but the letters are just so sweet, and flags and encouragement, and we're with you and we support you and we love you, and drawings from the little bitty kids, and just all kinds of encouragement and support. And she said both the children and the soldiers were both really encouraged to just get, letters from somebody saying, we care about you, we care about what's happening, we recognize you. And so the medical supplies, all of that is very much needed, but also can't underestimate just what a letter of encouragement will do for somebody's morale as well. So thanks, Michelle, for getting that going. You're our pioneer.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know. You lit the match there. So we're excited about that. And two packages went out. We did take the most recent batch of letters we had and split them up. So one is also going to directly to Oksana and her group in Ukraine. And then another batch of them is going to our partner Serve to distribute within their community and outreach areas there. And Christy, I don't know if you want to say a little bit more about like what Serve does or their mission for they're a huge partner of Vector, but not necessarily everybody in the call knows what they do.
Yeah, so it's, I'll put their link in here. They're awesome. We've been their longest serving corporate partner since 2013. They primarily do, and they're moving into the last few years of disaster relief. We started with them when they were just doing, well, not just doing, they're doing great work in Kenya and in Haiti, providing meals and medical services. But of course, now they're also a partner of Convoy of Hope, and a lot of times act as their boots on the ground. And so they have teams in Ukraine, in Hungary, in Poland, maybe somewhere else, that go in. And so the most recent letter we got from Dilly and his team and Luke and his team that are serving over there is that they were working with somebody who had converted his hotel into a shelter for people. And so we had shipped to them, one of our clients had donated disaster relief blankets. They were actually our first donation to come through back in March. And so they have given those, now that winter is upon us again, they have given those to the hotel. And so a lot of kids and families are receiving those blankets, and we're very grateful to have them. And so they're kind of sheltering in place in the hotel at this time. So those are being put to good use. And so they're excited to get letters to be able to send over to the kids as well. But Serve, they're doing really amazing work and now work in a lot of different areas around the world. But we are very fond of them for sure.
Yeah, so this will be another way that we're getting the word out of how we're helping and kind of getting our aid into a lot of different areas by kind of spreading out our letter distribution and helping with the awareness. So the letter writing campaign is still going for those of you on the call and watching afterwards. So if you haven't gone out and gathered any and you're still interested, this is a great time to continue with that. And we have some new team members here at Vector too that might be interested in that, and it's worth a refresh. I should have mentioned it yesterday at our meeting. I think it was maybe the first meeting of the new year. I didn't cross my mind, but the next one I'll mention it again in our internal meeting and bring it up. But
no, guys, this is off the topic,
Yeah.
but I've been trying to figure out how Nick Gustav is not blinking, but then I realized it's just a picture.
Nick is
Oh,
very
wow.
sneaky.
I'm like, that man can stare down anybody.
oh,
Hey guys, I'm sorry for the avatar. I'm kind of walking around. I don't want to distract you with my
I love
movements.
that. It looks so real.
It does.
didn't
I
see
know.
that
I was looking at
one.
like, how he's not blinking. But then I'm like, it's gotta be a
Very
picture.
practiced. Nick, what's going on with you and your team?
So we, not much change. I mean, we are slowly getting in contact with people that you guys recommended.
Good.
Try update yet.
Cool. And I see Lee. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Maureen. Good to join you again. Always
Yeah, sorry,
appreciate-
I don't have my screen set up so I can see everybody that's on, so I just scrolled over, and so I thought, oh,
Sure.
wonderful.
What's happening with you, Lee?
Well, when I started this enterprise back in May, I had this pipe dream of being able to send a container a month. We did 8 and 7 months, which was, I say, it's the grace of God at work, to do that. And we've had to take a pause actually on our sorting of medical supply. I just ran out of room, storage room. But I've got actually enough to fill virtually 2 containers right now.
Wow.
I've got one scheduled for later this month. I'm working on funding for the second one. So we're be back sorting in February. And we're also, we've been packing a lot of rice and pasta-based meals. We had a group of 60 volunteers on Saturday. They packed, I think, 12,500 meals,
Hmm.
which is good, of macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a new enterprise for us. And yeah, lots of supply. I've got lots of things in the pipeline in terms of either clothing, medical supply, fire protection equipment, even food. The challenge is, for me, is that the cost, ground transportation costs from Poland into Ukraine are sometimes double what we pay in terms of getting a transatlantic.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's a whole bunch of issues there in terms of economic costs, competition, congestion, things like that. But if you've got any ideas how we can try to mitigate those costs, that would help. Obviously, I've got the capacity to send more,
Mhm.
but the constraint is making sure that I just need to make sure that once something leaves my dock, that I've got the cash in hand to pay the bill when it comes in 8 weeks or so that obviously nobody's left hanging. I value greatly the relationship that I have with Vector and the partners that Vector has. And I want to be a good faith person to make sure that we're good to go on both ends of it, both in shipping as well as payment.
Yeah, Lee, one thing that we can look into, and I can talk to our team a little bit about, is one of the reasons those costs at destination are more expensive than even just getting it there is because can't take the container from Poland into Ukraine. You have to drive it to the warehouse, transload it, all of that, get it different. So it adds this another touch to it. But then
Right.
all those touches, and there's a cost to all of that, which just does, I agree, add up. Vlad and I went over costs last month or the month before.
I actually looked into that myself just to see if there's anything I could do. And the
Mhm,
problem is that the fuel there is more expensive than in America.
mhm.
That's the interesting part.
Well, it's normally like what
yeah.
we pay for a gallon, they pay for a liter, so.
Yeah, it's very expensive. And then on the other hand, it's really hard to get it. You have to have these coupons. So, I mean, there's, you can still get the fuel. But I even talked to some of the government officials, there and they said, well, they said, we can try to help out a little bit if you have stuff coming to our warehouses as far as helping out with some of the fuel costs. But I mean, getting those arranged, that's also a challenge because I mean, yeah, everything has all the stars have to align, and this kind of thing, they don't align a lot of times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Lee,
and
we can circle back and try and talk through it or ask our partners and our agents in Poland and Ukraine if they have any suggestions as to maybe a more cost-effective solution for your shipments or everyone's shipments.
I think for
really. And
everybody involved, because
yeah,
we all
I guess
share the same burden.
Well, we
What I
are
was-
still trying to partner with HAPAG on everything. So that was the website that went down last week. So I didn't want to publicly call them out, but we want to use them because they have given us those rates at cost for the steamship line, for the ocean freight. And then the drayage carriers that we've been using in your area also, they're partners with you, they're partners with Matter. so we don't want to take it away from them, and
No.
their rates are great. So yeah, we have kind of prioritized working with at least partners in the US that have given us their things at cost, so we can just pass that directly on. Or we're absorbing it for a lot of the shipments as well. So I think the main thing is that the X factor of when it's down, when it gets over there. I mean, there was a while where there was a lot of congestion at the port in Poland, and I think some of that's eased up, but I think the issue still remains too. It's winter, fuel prices are up, and then the whole who can go into Ukraine or come out of Ukraine from Poland does add, a significant amount of cost. So
And who's got the guts to go in there too?
yeah,
Well,
well, it's the
yeah.
drivers from Ukraine for the most part that are
Yes.
coming over. Yeah.
Speaking of, I
So-
think this is a good time to bring Brad in. Brad, if you are able to chat and tell people where you are and what you're doing.
Hello, am I unmuted now? Does this work?
Yeah, you're good. You look like you're in a basement
Okay.
or something.
It's not a basement, but it's yeah. So I'm in the far east of Ukraine. If you want to dig more deeply, a journalist who had saved my name in her phone as Bakhmut Brad. I made a little Facebook group called that, but I evacuate people from the front lines, and well, as Christy has just posted, there's also been a couple, my 15 minutes of fame on a particular thing that happened on Thanksgiving, the night of Thanksgiving. There was a badly wounded man, and I evacuated him out and so forth out of just a nuts situation where nobody should be, but it worked out, and they're okay, and wouldn't have been able to survive till the morning. So I had the vehicle, I was in the right place, and glad to be there, glad to be useful. But anyway, I'm out east. It's just the somewhat fast version of that. I rotate through different towns and kind of sleep here a bit and over there a bit, and idle my van some nights and tuck in here on a couch. And yeah.
So how did you
The
end
deli-
up over there, Brad? Tell us a little bit of like the story, behind that.
Yeah,
You can.
I smile because I don't mind unpacking it. It's just at least I'm long-winded at the story, but I for various reasons, felt like it fell to me to be here and pitch in. I had a pretty vigorous argument with my own self about how reasonable that was or not, and it really didn't seem particularly reasonable. Some days I find myself yelling out loud, what the F am I doing here? There's some close calls. There's some stuff. There's some pretty exasperating stuff left and right, but also then there's some really big and at times bad needs. And so I'm in the right spot. I feel like, and I've been able to, people have pitched in to give me enough, money for diesel to get around. And I've got one vehicle at a repair shop right now. The roads are awful, and another vehicle that's pretty crunched up, but we're limping along and getting by and kind of covering down. And I came in through Romania, actually across from Suceava. That border is far smoother, I think, at least it was at the time in March. And started doing much longer drives out for evacuating people in Lysychansk, which has since fallen to the Russians, unfortunately. But we basically just sort of fall back, and I've moved east more and more, and now I'm sort of out here permanently for the last, since the summer.
Wow.
And frontline evacuations of people. Some need to be carried, some are able to come to the vehicle. Deliver dog food. A lot of really underfed, emaciated animals. A lot of caretakers that are gone and missing, right? A lot of people trying to feed them aid food, bow tie pasta for, a flock of kittens. And it's everybody, excuse me, everybody's trying, right? We're all doing what we can to get by. So delivering what I can, evacuating what I can. Sometimes it involves runs further west in the country, but I really haven't been anywhere west of Dnipro in a long, long time. And I'm out in, like I say, Bakhmut or Konstantinivka or Kramatorsk or Soledar or Siversk, or that sort of neck of the woods, those neighboring villages and towns that both are and aren't on the news.
And just working on your own, not through an organization, right?
Yep, no, I'm just some guy with a van. There's been a few people here and there who have seen it, and joined that group and pitched in, right. It adds up and it helps. I certainly wouldn't be able to do it entirely, quote, on my own, but no, I'm not part of any for formal affiliation. I'm in the Rolodex. Probably half of you know what that is, but I'm in the Rolodex of plenty of people. And if you need something delivered, or if you need somebody brought out or whatever, feel free to give me a call. If I'm available, I'm happy to do it, whatever it takes.
Brad, thank you for joining us. I mean, you're in a really dangerous place, and you're doing a lot of really wonderful things on the front line. So, I feel really honored that you're taking the time out of your day or evening, whatever. I'm looking at the time here to.
Definitely evening. Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah.
And the
What are you,
sun
6
sets,
hours
literally the
ahead?
sun sets here at like 3:30.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty surreal situation. Yeah, 3:30, 3:45,
Wow.
sundown.
And so Christy or Brad, how did you guys connect, or how
I
did?
saw him on NBC.
Oh, okay.
Just reached out and was like, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you mind, coming on our podcast? And, and then I invited him to today's call just to be able to share his story so everybody would know what he's doing. And so, yeah, we just connected that way. So Brad, you're just seeing the needs in front of you. And so when people send you, you have a link in your Facebook group and everything, which we can put in this chat as well. So you're just seeing the needs in front of you. People are sending you money. You're running to the store, getting that need and delivering it. Is that sort of the basic process?
Yes, sometimes there are aid warehouses one way or another where somebody's able to bring a load of something or another and drop it off, or saying, I'm coming through, do you want some of this? A lot of that is kind of tapered off, at least in terms of access to me personally, for whatever reason. And part of that is just I've been busy with evacuations. I have strengths and abilities, but sort of networking into a warehouse community or whatever just isn't one of them, at least not yet. I don't really know who to even bug to make it happen. I have a couple of storage spaces I've arranged for in different towns, actually one on the west side of Bakhmut, another one in Kramatorsk, kind of half of one in Lysychansk, and some other spots. So I could shuffle things along the way from Dnipro to Pokrovsk and so forth out. I either know people who make a regular circuit riding on those things, or I have a Sprinter van of my own that's at least currently holding up. Excuse me. So yeah, I in the one of those spaces I have maybe 20 or so wood burning stoves along with their sort of chimney pipes and so forth, connectors to try to find homes for it to install, drop off, come back, confirm that they really got put where they said they were going to get put and so forth. But those have been a good and valuable resource. I need my Toyota 4-wheel drive back in operation before I can get up to some of those villages on these roads. But yeah, so some of those things on deck. Sometimes medical supplies. I've brought things to military folks as well, or evacuated, wounded people, or just people kind of hitching a ride to their next station or back for a break, or whatever. I mean, it's all kind of one cause, I guess, in a way, and because I have the liberty to not be, any particularly sort of formal ties or registration or anything. If it comes up and it's a decent, straightforward need, and I'm able to do it, then let's do that. And I'll just kind of keep doing that, I think, until more or less I run out of diesel money and have to go home to whatever's next.
Yeah. So what is, is money for diesel the greatest need? Is getting the Toyota fixed? What are kind of your big needs right now?
Just literally on a practical level, it would really kind of depend on how big of a check is available, Sure. So like on a bigger level, if I got a GoFundMe up and running, and really could set it up, and I have some pictures and video of the front end of the Sprinter is smashed up, and the heater just went out yesterday, and yada yada yada. if I had 20 or 30,000 and could flip that toward a military unit donation, they could take it to their body shop, overhaul it, juice it up for their needs. And then I pivot and got a new vehicle. I say new, I mean used vehicle, but a similar but better working and more more durable option. Probably something out of Poland, which is where I got the Toyota. That would be great, right? If it's a few $100 or a couple $1,000, like right now, the Toyota is at the Toyota dealership in Dnipro. It's a 20-year-old vehicle. The front end's been over a whole lot of really rough roads, and so all the kind of the axle and struts and tie rods and all this stuff. I'm not a carologist, but they're all jacked up and not cheap, and so we're kind of overhauling those to make sure that it is really roadworthy. I've been up in the same exact places. Actually, it's been somewhat haunting recently. There's just a couple of evacuation guys that just went missing in the last few days that have been in the news. And so you definitely want, vehicles that when you need to punch it, you can just go and there isn't a question. And they can also take some pretty rough roads and keep going that you're not about to break down. So fuel money is always helpful. I'm happy to bring and deliver as much cat and dog food as anyone can possibly provide. I will say that these critters out here are keeping me together in my head through all this as much as I am spending time with them. And it's strange to say, well, what did you do today? And I said, well, I went to a dog shelter that had a missile blow them up and kill some and destroy their houses and blow the fencing down. And I spent 10 or 20 minutes with each animal and I built a dog house. And then I went home and ate cheese and sausage from a cooler, it's a little less Hollywood some days than other days, but that kind of thing and that kind of it's that kind of shivering, malnourished, thirst for sort of affection and connection is badly needed across the whole range of all of us out here, really, frankly. So, cat and dog food, diesel, vehicle repairs, vehicle replacement. There's a whatever it is. A friend of mine from the Twin Cities set it up a Linktree deal where there's kind of a few different options for people to pitch in or see a little bit more, some posts. But it's that Bakhmut Brad is just the name of it on Facebook if you want to look.
Yep. I put that in the chat as well.
Oh, cool. I honestly don't know how the chat works on a technological level, but
that's okay. It's harder on a phone, but it's much harder.
Yeah.
So I know Brad only has a few minutes before he has to jump, and I know we need to wrap up pretty soon anyway. Does anybody have any questions for him before he has to go? Scott, you look like you're pondering.
It's tough to respond to that. Some of us cannot relate on a variety of levels. So I just want to thank you for what you're doing, Brad. I'm glad that we got connected today. So I can follow the Lord's work that you're doing for all, as you mentioned, everyone across the region can use beyond the support, but just the sympathy and the love and that might sound, as I'm saying that, it sounds my kids will make fun of me for saying it, but it's so real.
No.
Picking up from what you're sharing. So I appreciate what you do. I can imagine the dangers you face day in, day out. And your story,
it's nuts.
I can only imagine. And it's sad. Most Americans, probably most global citizens cannot imagine what you're doing and what you're seeing. And you've got a story, and what's going on in Ukraine and across the region needs amplification, right? And hopefully those that are doing the bad actors will be held responsible. But regardless, at the end of the day, the simple stuff, what you're doing is so incredibly valuable. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the fist bump there. For whatever it's worth, there's certainly, I think the sort of the sheep and the goats and the I was hungry and you fed me, and I was being shelled and you evacuated me, or you didn't, right? I think those kinds of questions and concerns certainly play into it. Do you happen to know, or others? I guess there was another guy with some books, but probably some sort of church library. It looks like. Either of you familiar with Fleming Rutledge?
Oh, is Lee, is he still on?
Yes, he is. Lee, do you know Fleming Rutledge? I don't either. No.
Okay. She was, she's in her 80s. She was one of the first women ordained in the Episcopal Church. Her preaching is so stellar that books published by Erdman's are probably more commonly found on the bookshelves of denominations that themselves don't ordain women. But she's actually absolutely top shelf content and just sort of wisdom and insight and so forth. She had a message about it was the first Sunday actually after the war began in this book of sort of weekly collected readings from her called Means of Grace. It just came out. Anyway, the reflection on Transfiguration Sunday is just there's this mountaintop experience, and that's good and important and well and fine and recharging and renewing and all this stuff, but ultimately you still need to roll down and into Jerusalem, even when there's some pretty unpleasant stuff waiting for you, or MLK talking about seeing the promised land and then still going into Memphis alongside the striking sanitation workers. So there's certainly much work to be done, and I think largely in good ways, at least. I think the onus, the burden of that, the just sort of between me and the ceiling and all that, having a clarifying question of what it means to be sort of ransomed out and nudged forward. It's great that you've been plucked from the sea here, Brad, but be part of the crew. Put your uniform on and get out there. That kind of factor is one of many that swirl around, I guess, for me driving this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, does anybody have anything else they need to update us on, or needs they need to ask for, solutions we can help crowdsource? Okay.
If
Easy.
you think of it later, you can always email us at ukraine@vectorgl.com.
Mhm.
But I kind of want to, I would love for us to conclude with Brad's words, just because I'd rather you guys all remember all the stuff he had to say more than what Christy and I said today. And so, really thank you all for joining us. You'll get an email with the link for the next one, and hopefully you can make it or invite a friend. But thank you for joining, and Brad especially, thank you for all that you're doing.
Thanks, Maureen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.